Is it broadcasting? Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. I had to check. I didn't know if I was live or not. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm the managing attorney, Joy Farrell. I'm here at the Farrell Law Firm, where we focus primarily on family law. Family law includes divorce, child custody, visitation, child support, alimony, and adoptions primarily. I encourage you to check out our website for more information. That website is www.farrellfirm.com. Also, make sure you follow all of our social media pages so that you can continue to receive alerts for things like this broadcast. Today, I'm going to be discussing some of the basics about child support. Child support is a big topic, and everybody always has questions about it. Even during my last 3 videos that were about custody, we always receive questions regarding child support. Because child support is such a big topic, this will probably end up being a 2-part discussion, possibly a 3-part discussion, depending on how many questions that I get. So before we get started, let me go over a quick disclaimer that I'm required to give per the ethics rules of Georgia. All the information that I give to you today is intended to be informational only. Every person in every case is different and requires specific legal advice. So if you're going to need legal advice, I encourage you to contact a lawyer, ideally us here at the Farrell Firm, and schedule a consultation. By being a part of this live broadcast today, you agree and understand that I am not creating an attorney-client relationship with you. Now let's go ahead and get started on what we're here for today. If you've tuned in with me before, then you know I try to answer every single question that is submitted during the live broadcast. So go ahead and post your questions, and I will come back to them at the end. It doesn't matter when you post it, I will see it before I get off. So if you're going to be watching this video on replay, please note that if it is not Friday, June 2nd, sometime between 12 and 12:30 when you're watching, you're actually not watching it live. I've had several questions on some of the other videos, people getting upset about me not answering their question, but I'm only answering live. So if you're seeing this after the fact, it is not live for you, and so I will not be able to answer your question. However, I do try to go back and type answers when I can. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about child support. Child support, and what is it? Child support is a monthly sum of money that is given to the custodial parent from the non-custodial parent for the support and care of the child. So the main question everybody is going to want to know is, how do I get child support? There's a lot of confusion surrounding how to actually get child support. A lot of people assume that if you just ask the non-custodial parent for the money, they give it to you whenever they have it, and that's that. But no, that is actually not how child support works. In order for there to be child support, in order for it to be legal, there must be an actual court order to create an obligation for the non-custodial parent to pay the custodial parent each month. So if there's not a court order, there's no obligation to pay. While most people hope that they can refrain from going through the court system, it is actually quite necessary. So if you are not married to the other parent and you want to receive child support, you must file a petition with the court to establish the child support. The other parent must then be served with the papers. Mothers, just so you know, and dads, if you're seeking to establish child support, you only need to establish that you believe that the dad is the biological father. If he signed the birth certificate, that solves the issue of paternity. However, in most cases, and in all cases brought by the Department of Child Support Services, the presumed father does have the opportunity to request the DNA test before a child support order is entered. Fathers, I don't care how much you think Junior looks just like you, you should elect to have a DNA test done always. Mothers, you should not be offended by a father electing to do a DNA test. It's nothing against you. It's just being careful, because once these support orders are entered, they're fully enforceable whether the child is his or not. So we want to be careful before we enter into child support orders. Child support is usually filed by the mom, but fathers can also establish child support. Excuse me, something's in my eye. Okay. Fathers can also establish child support. And there are a lot of fathers who choose to do this, put themselves on support. I know that may be surprising, but it is actually a good thing for dads to do, and here's why. So if you and the mom are constantly informally exchanging money back and forth, you can end up paying random amounts each month. You could pay $100 or you could pay $1,500, and it's kind of like an endless water well. But if you establish an actual support number, you know every single month exactly what you are obligated to pay. And that just creates more consistency across the board. Mom know how much she's supposed to get, you know how much you're supposed to pay, or vice versa. If dad is a custodial parent, you know how much money mom is supposed to pay in child support and how much money you're going to be getting from mom. So let's talk about child support and how it is calculated. Once an action for child support has been filed, the next major determination is how to calculate it and how much should actually be paid each month by the non-custodial parent. Prior to 2007, the non-custodial parent's income was the only income that was considered, and then a percentage of that number became the child support. That law is old and gone, and since July 2007, the state of Georgia uses both parent incomes to determine the child support. Income from mom and dad is considered by the court, and what the court is going to be looking at, what is the gross income. Gross income is your income before anything is deducted. Your taxes, health insurance is your gross amount. So if you make $60,000 a year, your gross monthly income would be $5,000 and not the $3,500 or so that you bring home after your deductions. And so in considering child support, other income is considered, or other income is calculated into your gross income, and those can be a variety of things. Child support can consider commissions and tips into your income. So if you work commission-based, or if you're a waiter or any type of position where you get cash tips like valet, driver, cash-based, we try to figure out how much that is, and we use that as your gross income as well. For people who are self-employed, the court will also calculate your self-employment income. Many people are exclusively self-employed, or some people have part-time side hustles. Income received from either of those is calculated by deducting the business expenses and then using the remaining number, ideally the profit. This area can get very tricky if you have someone who runs a cash-based business or someone who doesn't keep clean business records. These people usually claim to be unemployed. If the other parent is self-employed, you definitely want to hire a lawyer, because we have special ways to find all the money that they're trying to hide so they can avoid paying a certain amount of child support. Child support also takes into consideration any bonuses and overtime pay that you receive. The biggest fuss that people make about this category is that the bonus and overtime pay is not guaranteed and it should not be used to calculate the support. However, we as lawyers, we take a look at the past years bonuses and overtime or months and average it out and use the number using that. And if you're getting bonuses overtime, you should expect to have to pay child support according to that. So if you've always got overtime for the past year or two, now that there's a child support case pending and all of a sudden you stop working overtime, that's not going to be a good argument for you to say that you don't get overtime anymore if you've been getting it the past 2 years. So just be mindful of that. The court can also look at a lot of other income. They'll look at severance pay, income from retirement pensions, trust fund income, annuity income, disability income, Social Security income, lottery winnings, etc. So all that can be calculated. So the question is now is going to be, what happens when there's a claim that there is no income? Well, there is a minimum amount of income that has to be put into the child support worksheet. The court cannot put zero for your income when calculating child support. State law requires that if there's no income, the minimum amount of income to be used is minimum wage calculated at a full-time rate, which comes out to $1,261.50 per month. So that would be the minimum amount of income calculated for a parent who claims they do not have a job. However, some people may not have a job, or they may not have a sufficient job. So what happens then is you're considered underemployed. So when we have somebody who's underemployed, we impute income. So if you make less money than the court believes you should be making, the court is authorized to impute your income to what they think your earning potential or your earning history is. When we talk about potential, we look at your qualifications. If you make, say, for example, you make $25,000 a year, but you have a master's degree and 10 years experience in the IT field, it could be argued that you are underemployed and your child support should be calculated using, say, $70,000, which someone with those same qualifications will likely be earning when we do your child support. If we look at your earning history, we look at what you have earned in the past compared to what you're earning now. So for example, if you're earning $50,000 now, but in the past years you have earned $80,000 consistently, we have to look at why there was that $30,000 change. And we can argue before the court that your child support should be calculated using the $80,000 income history. So in addition to the income that goes into the child support worksheet, the court is always going to look at the needs of the child. And as far as calculating, we consider the health insurance and work-related child care expenses. Just recently, a House bill passed that will allow the courts to take the child care out of the worksheet and just include it in the order, but not the child support worksheet, which will make a big difference. And I can get into that later, but mainly healthcare and child care expenses are the things that go into the worksheet in addition to the income. Other things can go into the worksheet like private school tuition and extracurricular activities, but it's going to depend on the family circumstances. So once we have the income and the needs of the child, we actually go into the actual child support calculation. We use the child support worksheet, put the income in, put the needs in, and the worksheet will spit out a monthly payment, which is going to be called the presumptive amount of child support. And once we see that number, that's what the number is. But is that number an end-all be-all? No, absolutely not. The child support worksheet does allow for deviations. After the worksheet calculates the support, there is the opportunity for a crafty lawyer like myself to deviate higher or lower from that number. The worksheet allows a few different reasons to deviate, and all those deviations are discretionary and up to the judge as to whether or not they will be granted. Again, every situation is different. So if your child support worksheet pulls, say, $600 and the custodial parent thinks it should be more, we may argue as to why that should be, or if you're the non-custodial parent, you think it should be a little bit less, there's arguments we can make, try to make to see if we can get that number reduced. So once you've done all that, put in the income, the needs of the child, gotten the final number, that's when you have an order entered for child support. So once the monthly child support is entered, it is mandatory that it be paid each month. It is important to understand that child support is different for every single family. Some people will pay as little as $300 per month, and some people pay well over $2,000 per month in support. Never ever seek child support based on what someone else gets. It's very annoying to your lawyer when you come in and say, well, such and such is getting, $1,500 a month while I'm only getting $275. Well, if they make $100,000 compared to your $35,000, the numbers are going to be different. They may have kids in a top-rated daycare that costs them $2,500 a month, and your kids' daycare may only cost $500 a month. So there are many different factors that play a part into what that final child support number is going to be. Nonetheless, once the support is ordered, it does have to be paid. Failure to pay child support can result in jail time, license suspensions, etc. So it's really important that you keep current with your child support. If you fall behind on child support, or if the other parent is not paying child support, you should file for contempt. Even if you miss child support payments, you will have to pay that child support. Even if you're paying it when your kids are grown, you're going to have to pay every dollar of child support that's ordered. So you need to be mindful of that. And with that in mind, I just want to throw in a quick blurb about modifications. Sometimes people get on child support and the parents come to an agreement and say, oh, well, and I know the court said pay me $1,000, but you can just give me $500 and we're good. You don't want to enter into those informal agreements. Child support must be modified by court order, because if you and the other parent get into that agreement, you pay under that agreement for a couple of years, the other parent can always come back and get the difference because that's what the court said you were supposed to pay. It doesn't matter what they said you were supposed to pay, it's what the court says. So you always want to make sure that you're modifying the orders accordingly. I think that is enough for right now. Like I said, I will talk about this again next week. So go ahead and start typing your questions. I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to type out some questions, and I'm going to go through and answer those questions for you. So I'll give you guys a second. Okay. Can a step-parent's income be taken into consideration when trying to get child support? Hannah, the parents, they have obligation to care for the child, or the actual biological parents. So a step-parent's income is not relevant in a child support worksheet. However, there are arguments that can be made regarding the spouse's income as it relates to the other person's ability to possibly pay more, like they may have an assistance with their income and bills, etc., can be considered in that manner. But the step-parent has no legal obligation whatsoever to pay any support for a child that is not theirs. See if any other questions are going to pop up here. This is from Shannon. Can inherited money be considered income? Yes, Shannon, it depends on how you're getting that money. If it was a one-time payout, if you're getting it through an annuity or some type of trust fund, that can be considered income. Joy, my baby daddy isn't paying anything currently. He's supposed to pay $707 a month. I've constantly called and they've done nothing. Joy, that's because you're dealing with the Department of Child Support Services. They're a state agency and they are overpaid and underworked. You need to hire you a private lawyer who can go after him. Child Support Services just don't necessarily have the resources to track down everybody. So if you want some advice on that, you actually really need to file a contempt action, and probably need to do it through a private action versus trying to go through the state. So that way it'll be a lot quicker and you'll get your results a lot faster. Angela, if monetary gifts are given to the children from godparents or extended family members, does the court take account of that or keep record of that? No, gifts from other family members doesn't change the fact that parents need to, both parents must provide for the support and care of the child. Savano, I got into an accident at work and I'm not working at the moment. What will happen? Most likely, Savano, your income will be calculated at what you were earning prior to your injury. Unless your injury is permanent and you will never be able to make that kind of money, you would be imputed at however much you were making before your accident. Can the child support be lower if the father covers healthcare benefits? Yes, as I mentioned, healthcare benefits and childcare are two factors that go into the child support worksheet. So it's really considered a deviation. So for example, Kenneth, if you pay $250 per month for the benefits of the child, you would get like a slight deviation in the calculation, but the end number that comes out has already given you credit for that number. And while I'm speaking about healthcare, if one parent covers healthcare, both parents are to split uninsured medical expenses according to pro rata share, meaning if dad makes 50% of the money and mom makes 50% of the income, they would split those uncovered expenses 50-50. Or if it's a different share, like 70-30, they should split it 70-30 for anything that's not covered by the insurance. Alicia, can I have my payment added to a prepaid card, such as a Walmart or American Express? No. Child Support Services does have a type of card where your money can be added to, but when you, no, you cannot put it on something like that, but you can get it directly sent to you via income deduction order. I can go into your account, you can deposit the check or whatever, but you can't put it on a gift card. How can you get a copy of your payment history? That depends, Alicia. If you've gone through Child Support Services, you can have an account access there. You can sign on and see a history of all the payments. However, I always advise everybody to go through private lawyers because we're just more efficient at the end of the day. And in that case, you need to make sure you're keeping up with all of your payments. So if you have a child support order in place already, you need to make sure you're keeping up with what you're paying. And if you're receiving it, you need to keep up with what you're receiving and when you've received that in the form of payment. Also, if you're on a child support order, never, ever, ever ever, I don't care what the circumstances are, pay your child support via cash. You always want to pay it in something that can be tracked. If I have a pre-existing child support order for another child, how does that affect my child support obligation? If you have a child that you're already on child support for, you will get a credit in the new child support worksheet for the pre-existing order. So if you're paying $500 for another child, that $500 gets considered in the calculation for the new child. If I'm awarded child support, can I let child support services collect my money for me even though I do not use their services? Yes, you can. You just have to open up an application with child support services. I think it's like $25, and they'll pretty much keep up with it for you. Shay says, how long does child support service have to process a child support application? I actually really don't know if they have timelines over there, Shay. They're just slow all around, honestly. Like, again, I would encourage you to actually hire a private firm if you're seeking child support in that manner, because what child support service is going to do when they get your application, they're going to mail the father a letter, and the letter is going to come back as undeliverable, and then they're going to say, hey, Shay, sorry, we tried to give him notice, but he doesn't live at this address, and we don't have the time or resources to go and find him, so good luck. So they're inefficient, in my opinion. I think I'm hitting all the questions. Just skimming down, making sure I got them all. If you have a question, type fast, because I'm getting ready to wrap up these questions. I'll wait a few more seconds. Yeah. Alicia says, does a voluntary downward shift in income automatically award non-custodial parent a reduction in child support? No, nothing with child support is automatic. So any changes to any orders have to be modified. So if your income is less, you have to file a modification. However, voluntary downward shifts in income, meaning you took a lesser job with lesser pay voluntarily, the court's probably not going to reduce your child support based on that, because that's inappropriate. Jet says, do we have payment plans? Jet, in certain situations we do. You probably want to schedule a consultation to see if you qualify for a payment plan. If you have an existing order, when can it be modified? Okay, Shannon, a lot of people get this confused. When you're working with child support services, they tell you every 3 years they're going to do a modification. If you hire a private firm like us, we can modify anytime there is a change in circumstance to your income or the needs of the child. So if one parent is making more or less money, or the child is no longer in child care or whatever, and you qualify for the modification, we can do that at any time the qualifications are met. Taria, well, why with my joint custody order and legitimation was child support not ordered by the dad and I'm the custodial parent? Taria, did you have a lawyer? Because that's inappropriate. Answer that and I'll get back with you. Alicia, if my child is turning 18 before they graduate, does a non-custodial have to continue to pay child support until they graduate? Absolutely. Child support goes all the way through graduation or up until age 20. So if you have a child who is 18 and still in high school, child support still has to be paid. If you have a child who is 20 who is still in high school, it goes up until they graduate or until they turn 20. If I get married, will my current husband's income be factored? Not for calculation of the child support. For the actual worksheet, Jennifer, you and your child's father's income will be used strictly on the worksheet. However, if there's, let's say he wanted to pay a little bit less or, whatever, the court may look at how much your husband contributes to your household and say, well, all right, maybe you don't need as much, but it's not really a strong argument. Step parents are irrelevant to child support calculations. Okay. What if the other parent is incarcerated? They still responsible for child support? You can be incarcerated and still have a child support order against you. If you're in jail, obviously you don't have income to pay, but your child support arrears will be accruing while you are incarcerated, and you will be fully expected to pay that at 100%, pay all of that money back that you owe. Can child support go through college? No, it does not. The court does not have the authority to enter child support through college. However, you and the other parent can agree to that if you want to, but it cannot be legally ordered by a judge. Wanda says, I was married. I have 3 children, but only the first child is his biologically, and my ex won't sign the divorce decree. My question is, should I file child support for all 3 or just my oldest? We've been separated for 17 years. You can only file child support for the child that is biologically his. You need to file a separate child support case on the other 2 children against their father. Okay, Taria says, no, she didn't have a lawyer. I thought that may be the case, Taria. I'm sure he filed because only a father can file for legitimation. You may want to, well, it's a moot point now. It's already done. But here's what you can do. You can file a petition to establish child support. Custody and legitimation have already been determined, so you need to go ahead and file to determine child support. It should have been determined in your legitimation action, but given that it wasn't, you need to go ahead and pursue that ASAP. Okay, I think I have gone through and answered all the questions. Oh, wait, no, we have one more come up. If there has never been an order, can I seek back pay for my 15-year-old? This is a very common question, and I'm going to say this. If you have little kids, young kids, you need to file for child support now. Don't wait till they're almost grown to file for child support. It is very difficult to get back pay, and generally our courts, they know they do not back pay for child support because child support must be calculated based on current incomes. However, if you kept every receipt and you know all their expenses and all that stuff over the past 15 years, there's a possibility to get something, but it's darn near impossible. So if you want child support for the next 3 years, you need to go ahead and file something now. If you have young kids, file now and don't wait to file because they're only obligated to pay until the child becomes 18. All right, so thank you guys for tuning in today. We do offer consultations here at the Farrell Firm. You can either call us at 678-973-2803 or go online, farrellfirm.com, and book consultation. Those consultations last up to an hour and they cost $150. I encourage you to schedule an appointment if you want to talk in detail about any options you may have. Thank you for tuning in with me today, and I still have some more questions popping up, so I just have to answer them. So let me just answer these really quick, and then I'm going to get out of here for real. Vicky, can you tell me about Alabama child support? Vicky, if I told you about Alabama child support, the Georgia lawyers and Alabama lawyers will be saying I'm doing unauthorized practice of law. I don't live in Alabama. I'm not licensed in Alabama, so no, I cannot tell you about Alabama. But if the dad lives here in Georgia, we can bring it in Georgia. Jeff, even if they haven't graduated from high school, I'm not sure what your question is, but it goes through high school graduation, or if they're 20, or if they've emancipated themselves, meaning they've become an adult, the support can stop then. What happens with child support after a temporary order? Nisa, they should be paying the support order in the temporary order. Eventually, you're going to get a final order. And then once you get a final order, that would be the permanent child support order until that's modified. All right, y'all. I think I got everybody. Again, you can call us or go online to schedule a consultation. We look forward to meeting any of you in person. Again, we're going to be live again next week discussing child support some more and part 2. So if you have questions, bring them next week. Or in the meantime, if you want to get a personal consultation, just go ahead and call us and get scheduled. Hope you guys have a blessed weekend. See y'all next week. Bye.